The Togruta are one of Star Wars' most recognizable species, with Togruta characters like Shaak Ti and Ahsoka Tano being fan favorites. But despite this, most fans don't actually know all that much about these wily humanoids. A fair few people seem to assume they're just discount Twi'leks or something, or perhaps even a Twi'lek subspecies due to the two species' physical similarities. However, the Togruta were actually quite different from the Twi'leks, and from most other species for that matter. They were cunning hunters, intensely social, and deeply in touch with life around them, and in this video, we dive into their culture and history.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
The Togruta evolved on Shili, a temperate world of the Eosic sector of the expansion region. Shili's surface was dominated by vast savannas and plains, interspersed with towering mountain ranges, warm, shallow seas, and rainforested valleys. The planet's sprawling savannas were covered in tall, red and white turu-grass. Many creatures dwelled in the savannas, from the large, ferocious akul beasts to small rodents called themiars. It was in this ecosystem that the Togruta first evolved. The Togruta were humanoids with vibrant skin hues, typically red or orange with white stripes. These patterns were meant as camouflage, as they helped Togruta blend in with the tall turu grass. Some Togruta had blue, green, grey, or even purple skin instead, which may have been an adaptation to other environments on Shili, such as the rainforests. Togruta had 3 to 4 head tails, which were used primarily for communication, as well as a pair of hollow horns called montrals. Montrals gave Togruta the ability to feel ultrasonic vibrations, allowing them to sense the proximity and movement of nearby objects. Their montrals also gave the Togruta a unique affinity for the Force, despite the fact that the average Togruta actually had a lower midichlorian count than most species. The unique spatial awareness of the Togruta allowed even non-Force sensitives among them to faintly feel the Force, which gave the species a greater respect for life. The Togruta were carnivores and hunters by nature. They mainly hunted themiars, the small rodents we mentioned earlier, which they usually killed with a swift bite to the neck. This method killed the creatures instantly thanks to the Togruta's sharp canine teeth, but it caused the themiars' bodies to spasm post-mortem, which gave rise to the belief that Togruta had venomous bites. This was untrue, of course, but Togruta rarely made an effort to dispel the myth, as most enjoyed the intimidating effect it gave them. Even in modern times, many Togruta chose to live in hunting packs back on Shili, living simple lives and building their villages in forested valleys where they were safe from the worst of Shili's predators. Togruta were incredibly social creatures with a natural drive to collaborate instead of compete. While many other social species, like humans, were tribal with a natural inclination to cooperate within groups and compete with other ones, Togruta were cooperative across the board, with hunting packs regularly working together to bring down Shili's fiercest beasts. This gave them considerable skill in diplomacy and cross-cultural dialogue. Though the Togruta mostly ate smaller creatures, hunting packs often ganged up on larger beasts like the akul to keep their communities safe. Sometimes, adolescent Togruta would hunt akul alone as part of a coming-of-age ritual. Those who were successful wore headdresses made out of the beast's teeth. As you'd expect from hunters, Togruta also turned the teeth and the pelts of many other animals into ceremonial trophies, though none commanded nearly as much respect as akul teeth. Togruta communities were extremely collectivist. Togruta leaders were taught to avoid the pitfalls of selfishness or excessive individualism, and the Togruta believed that those who faced those desires and overcame them were the best leaders a pack could ask for. Though every member of a Togruta hunting pack was expected to contribute as much as possible to the food collection, food was always distributed evenly among the Togruta as a matter of principle. There was a darker side to Togruta society, however. Even though they were overwhelmingly egalitarian and had a strong sense of unity, Togruta also believed that those who could not keep up with the pack should be left behind. This might seem paradoxical to some, and perhaps it was, but hey, it's not like human society is free of contradiction, right? The Togruta were also a spiritualistic and nature-loving people, believing that all living beings were intrinsically connected to each other and the land. Even though they were carnivorous, they had an appreciation for all life. Again, this might seem a bit contradictory, but from the perspective of the Togruta, hunting and death were an intrinsic part of life, not adversarial to it, and they valued what they saw as their role in the cycle of life. The Togruta considered the land itself to be sacred, much like the sand people of Tatooine, and for this reason, most Togruta preferred to walk barefoot, as they believed footwear severed their spiritual connection to the environment. Even though many of them preferred primitive lifestyles, the Togruta were well integrated into galactic society, with many serving in prominent positions within the Republic government. Though most of the planet was undeveloped, Shili had a fair few cities and starports which were largely inhabited by artisans, pacifists, and those few Togruta who just weren't into hunting. The largest city on Shili was Korvala, the planetary capital, a trading hub that specialized in medicine and healing. The Togruta even had a series of colonies on the planet Kiros, which was home to communities of pacifists and artisans looking for an escape from intergalactic war. Shili lay in a region called the Northern Dependencies, a swath of space north of Coruscant that was one of the first regions explored by the Republic. Though for millennia Shili existed at the fringe of known space, the Togruta were close friends of the Republic, and in particular the Jedi Order, for most of the galaxy. Since the Togruta had natural skill in cross-cultural interaction, many of them served the Republic as ambassadors and diplomats. Shili also provided the Jedi with a steady stream of recruits, with some of the Order's greatest masters being Togruta. Among the many well-known Togruta Jedi were Shaak Ti, Ahsoka Tano, and Rana Tei. Each of those three Jedi shared a few commonalities, perhaps a product of their Togruta heritage. Each was known for their cunning and, at times, aggression. Shaak Ti, one of the Jedi Order's brightest stars, had all the guile and strategic acumen of an accomplished hunter. She actually trained her Padawans back home on Shili, incorporating a few Togruta beliefs and practices into her teachings, something that the Jedi culture sanctioned, as Togruta culture was pretty compatible with Jedi doctrine. Ahsoka Tano, who needs no introduction, was also known for her hunter's instincts, as was Rana Tei. Tei, who was a Jedi Master during the Mandalorian Wars, was known for her anger issues, which drew her into the grip of the dark side. Though the Togruta were, for tens of millennia, prominent within the Republic and proud allies of the Jedi Order, Shili was rarely involved in the Star Wars Galaxy's wars, probably because it was mostly undeveloped and almost always far from the front lines. In all the wars of the Old Republic, Shili only became notable during the Great Galactic War, when the Togruta led an uprising against the Sith Empire, which was brutally repressed. Additionally, the Togruta of Kiros, then a neutral world, were roped into the Clone Wars when they were targeted by separatist-backed Zygerian slavers, who depopulated the entire planet and shipped the Togruta off to Kadavo to be sold as slaves. Fortunately, the Togruta of Kiros were rescued from Kadavo by the Grand Army of the Republic, which returned the survivors home and trained them in self-defense in case the invaders returned. The Togruta were a people of contradictions, like any other. They were tranquil, yet fierce fighters. They were quiet, yet intensely social. They cared deeply for life, yet they were hunters, and most lived primitive lives despite being intrinsic parts of a galaxy-spanning republic. To the Togruta though, none of this was seen as paradoxical. As they saw it, they had a specific niche in the natural order of their world, and they happily forsook the comforts and complexities of more developed societies to retain it. From where we're standing, that seems to have been a good choice. In a lot of ways, the Togruta were similar to the Ithorians, who we've also done a video on, and that you should totally watch after this one. But what do you think? Did you have any idea the Togruta were like this? Feel free to post your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.